film that has big time camp. What big movie will be the ultimate champ? You might think you're crazy, might think they're diseased, but they watch another child to find the best of this.
We rate each movie in 5 categories, none of which are objective quality.
It's Stan, Dean, Jack and Nick who watch it till it's finished, because the love for this movie can be diminished. And maybe the film's plot has no rhyme or reason, but that's a part of charm.
Colin's breath is off the season.
It's low budget film that is much true. They find a flick that monster boogaloo. Kung Fu Electric Boogaloo. Kung Fu Electric Boogaloo. Kung Fu Electric Boogaloo. Kung Fu Electric Boogaloo.
Are you ready to mustache? Welcome back, my friends, to Season 7 of the Kung Fu Electric Boogaloo, presenting free mustache rides. I am your host, 8th Dan Stanadu, and this one is Big City Blues. We got some Burt Reynolds mustache action. All right, I am joined, as usual, by my friends. Let's go with Jack first.
What? Me first?
Yeah, you first.
Hi.
Hi. All right, Jim Cotta.
I'm ready to go. I have been here in awe of the greatest mustache in film history.
Mustaches galore. That's this season. Mustaches galore. And Nick Boxer.
Hallelujah! I can see again. Greetings and salutations.
Well, that's good. I'm glad you could see, because you would not have wanted to miss a minute of Big City Blues.
Oh, no, I would not. I love this movie.
All right.
For all the right reasons.
All the right reasons. Tell us about this movie.
This movie was obviously made, financed, and perhaps viewed by somebody who watched Pulp Fiction and masturbated to Pulp Fiction way too many times.
There may have been some influence, yeah.
And got Burt Reynolds and William Forsythe to believe in their vision. Like, this was obviously one of those moments where somebody close to them said, oh man, this Pulp Fiction is a big thing. We got to get in on this ride. And they're like, hey, I'm down with this. And it's just like, okay, I got the script for you, buddy. And boy, do they ever.
Oh, wow. This movie, now, as I discern it, is made up of 3 intersecting vignettes. The first one stars our mustache, Burt Reynolds, and William Forsythe as 2 mob hitmen just carrying out their day. I'm guessing they got a couple stops to make. They got to kill a guy. They have to track something down. They're getting phone calls from the boss to do stuff, pick stuff up like that. And meanwhile, they kippets about movies and like that, because once again, Tarantino ripoff. The second vignette involves a hooker and her search for a doppelgänger. Her exact opposite she keeps seeing everywhere. And she likes talking about this doppelgänger a lot. Coincidentally, she wants to be a model. The third vignette stars 2 gentle ladies, I suppose you'd call them.
No.
Both are bad.
You wouldn't call them that, no.
No,
no, not even.
I don't. One member of this team is a pre-op transsexual who is debating whether to go through the surgery, and the other is her I want to say more butch, but that's not the. I think he's just an effeminate. I don't know.
Not right either. No.
No, somebody help me out here.
It's Giancarlo Esposito and Ari Gross. That's good enough.
As transvestites. Yeah, that's all you need to know. Yeah, it's yeah.
Yeah, and so all these people take off on their evening, and they all intersect at one point or another, and there is some sort of story that I could not discern.
It's not about the, it's not about the story. It is
about the journey. It's not about the end result.
To quote Quentin Tarantino himself, it's about the journey, not the destination.
Yes. and that is entirely this movie. I'll tell you right now, there is somewhere in an alternate reality, there is a 25-year-old Stan that is watching this movie and is truly the happiest person in the world. Because, yes, you have given him everything that his little heart at 25 desires. Pretentious movie claptrap with boogaloo frogs and such.
I don't even know where we start on this one.
Oh man, it's because from the opening scene of the movie, the French movie that's dubbed, and is so boogaloo.
Give a bit more frame of that.
Oh my god. Okay, so it opens up and we're in a black and white French movie, but it's poorly dubbed, and the action in that French movie is, by itself, insanely boogaloo. I would rate that crazy boogaloo just on its own. And so then we go out to the movie theater after the movie ends, and Burt Reynolds' character is in the movie theater, and then we punch back out to Burt Reynolds in the car talking to William Forsythe about the movie, and it's the most meta boogaloo that I've ever seen in my life, where they talk about the dubbing and stuff like that, and then it goes into Sergio Leone and Clint Eastwood and Eli Wallach in the spaghetti westerns, and it is just one of those insanely it's that like film studies pretentious crap that so many movies got made from 20 years ago, or I guess 30 years ago now. I mean, I'm sure that like there's lots of story to lots of story to that black and white movie, but it hardly matters. It's just brilliant.
There is no reason to open the movie with that or
have
it there whatsoever.
What are you talking about? They totally call back to it in the very last scene.
Yeah, but that is equally masturbatory.
Well, welcome to Big City Blues.
Yes.
I couldn't disagree with you more on that. It's like thematically, it's what makes the whole storyline of Georgina Cates pay off. Is the end of that. Like, I don't know if I want to start from here or end from here. So Georgina Cates, she is seeking her doppelganger, the person who is exactly like her but has gone on a different path. It's not her opposite. It is a person who's exactly like her and took a left when they should have, and when she took a right, and things turned out well for her. And she's a prostitute. She imagines that her doppelganger is a model and is living this different life. So her story arc is that she's seeking this doppelganger because she's imagining that there is this perfect life that she could have been having. She makes it to this movie randomly at the end of the film, like the end of Big City Blues. She makes it into the movie theater and watches the French film, and the actress who plays so Georgina Cates is also the actress that's in the French film. That's her doppelganger.
That's right.
So she has been searching for this person on the streets of LA, and while she's doing that, her doppelganger is on the screen in front of her, and she's missed her again. It's like thematically what makes the character make sense. And as you said,
it was the only thing in the movie that did make sense. But I don't know how you missed this. When she runs into the theater, she's doing this thing with her hands, and then on the screen they showed the character, and they showed again the scene that we saw at the beginning of the movie, and the same character, the female character, and she's doing the exact same thing in the hands. That's where you connect that it's the same two people.
Yep. So I mean, this part may actually be way too highbrow for the show. This section of Big City Blues may have accidentally classed itself out of the Boogaloo category.
Thankfully, the rest of it, there's no problem.
Luckily, Ari Grost and Giancarlo Esposito are there to bring him.
Oh my God!
I think the switch from Boogaloo into intelligent movie watching may have been too much for me. I couldn't make that adjustment because I missed that entirely.
The leap was too great. Yeah, understandable. But I just love the fact that the French movie was Boogaloo.
Oh yeah, obviously filmed in L.A. with like a car that was European, so we know where it is.
So as soon as they're out, so Burt Reynolds has watched this movie alone. He's discussing it with William Forsythe. So we've got what is a very 90s thing, which is the talking, sitting in the car and talking, totally Pulp Fiction, where they're and Res Dogs, like all the Tarantino thing of having two people sit in a car and have a weird conversation. But they've attached the camera to the car, and it's like shaking all over the place. They do this 2 or 3 times in the movie where people are driving and talking, and the camera work is horrible, but every time. It's like this awful shaky cam every single time, which I thought was awesome.
It's trying so hard to be everything that those movies in the 90s were. Just like, we're gonna get some inventive camera angles. We're gonna talk about something completely unrelated to the actual plot of the movie. The looking at the houses and stuff like that, pulling up the pieces of paper with the houses. Oh my God, there's that wonderful scene where they go and go to the house, this house where I barely even know why, but they're in the house and 2 guys are kind of squatting, and then they wind up they kill one of them, and it's just so fantastic. It's one of those cases where these characters, they're so fucking stupid in their own way.
Burt Reynolds develops a really weird accent in that scene too.
Does.
He has this kind of he changes accents periodically through the movie. Yeah. It's a weird character choice to just have this. He has kind of a mid-Atlantic classic movie accent in that scene for. I don't know what it's supposed to be informing, but
well, yeah, and it's because it does seem like he's pulling a Nick Cage. Where it's just like the character is more so. But yeah, every time that Ari Gross and Giancarlo Esposito show up, and I don't even know why, but Ari Gross tells stories, and that's where the frogs show up.
Yeah,
and he is telling this story, and he tells a couple of stories in this, and I don't even really know why the frog story came up, but man, seeing people in PVC frog costumes, that's fucked up shit right there.
That was awesome.
It was totally awesome.
Ari Gross is basically telling parables to his friend, because his friend's trying to decide if she's going to have the surgery done, but Ari Gross doesn't want to give the answer, so constantly telling these weird parables, and the friend keeps interrupting them too. Giancarlo keeps Giancarlo, yeah.
Carlo.
Giancarlo keeps interrupting the stories, and so Ari Gross keeps like, "Are you gonna let me tell this?" And then Giancarlo is like, "Are you gonna finish the story?" Like it's this ongoing battle over finishing finishing any of the parables that she's trying to get across.
Yeah, I mean, and then there's that, and then there's the other part where Balthazar Getty shows up, and oh my god, and that part's just awesome because they're in a diner and they're going across to a hotel, and then the hotel is suddenly surrounded by police and they're under a table, and it's just like, oh my god, this is so weird, and the waitress is like, whatever, give it a moment, it'll be gone in a second, this happens all the time. And then it clears up completely, and I'm like, oh yeah, you're just nailing that like 90s independent flick moment right there.
Nailing.
How are things for you, Jack? You've grown incredibly silent.
Oh, I hated this movie. And we're not here to hammer on movies, right? We're here to give love, and I have no love for this movie. So I'm not saying anything. Like I think everything. I disagree with every single thing virtually you guys have said. I think this thing is all phony boogaloo. It's because it's also contrived. That this is the worst experience I've had doing this podcast was watching this thing.
Wow, that is very interesting. This is the best experience I've ever had.
I love this movie, but I understand you saying not only do they hit the Tarantino beats, they hit them like right on. I mean, they rip scenes right out of Pulp Fiction and Res Dogs. Like, we got the Gimp
2 days
scene.
in the Valley. There was so many of these independent crime comedy thrillers in this era. After these movies came out and had success, there were numerous ones, and I can think a lot of them better than us. But this one thinks to itself: as long as we are, if we provide crazy characters and dialogue that never pushes along the plot, but is so clever and hip, we'll fit right in with those. And to me, that doesn't work. To me, that's all phony boogaloo. Like that, it's not real boogaloo.
To me, this is so boogaloo.
If you're on purpose trying to make it crazy, then it's not good boogaloo crazy to me. So I just like this was, and it was so boring. When you're sitting there and there's nothing happening, and I don't know why anything's happening, and a scene just goes on forever and ever, and people are just talking and they think it's clever or funny, and it's not, and it just goes on and on. I'm just watching it, just dragging me down. Yeah, like I'm the scoring will show it, but I'm not here. Like I say, we're not really. You guys love it, so please go on loving it. But I'll be largely silent until this thing's done, and then the scoring will reflect how I felt about it. Unfortunately, it sounds like it's a movie that would have scored high, but I mean, it takes a village. It takes us all to make a movie that really scores in the top or has a chance to knock off of Ninja 3: The Domination, and because of me, it seems this one doesn't have a shot, but I just can't stand it.
Because, yeah, it's funny you bring that up, because to me, this is one of the most perfect experiences that I have had in the show. Like, this is the most boogaloo movie that I feel like I've watched, period.
I love the tone, just the tone mix. Like, I agree with everything Jack's saying about the crime arc.
Oh yeah,
the crime part, the crime 1/3, but the transgender storyline is so like incongruous. Is that what I'm going for?
Incongruous, yeah.
Sure, yeah, that it totally doesn't fit with the tone of that story. And then again, you have this Georgina Cates arc that is. It stands like it's Georgina Cates, and Balthazar Getty plays into her storyline, but she's in an entirely different film from everyone else that somehow thematically pulls together, and that I love that the book ending with the French film that Burt Reynolds sees it at the beginning, and then she and Ari Gross and Giancarlo see it at the end. So this film is also one of the things that ties all the characters together.
1 minute into this movie, I had such high hopes. when that opening started. 2 minutes into this movie, I was worried. 3 minutes in, as that scene ended and Burt Reynolds walked out, I thought, "Oh, I'm not going to enjoy this," and I didn't. Like, I could tell.
1 minute into this movie, I wasn't sure I had started the right movie.
Yes,
Well, that's true.
for sure.
Because it's a black and white French film for the first 2 minutes.
Badly drawn,
So-
badly done too. Right?
It was. I absolutely friggin' love that one of the first things Burt Reynolds says, because William Forsythe and Burt Reynolds meet up after he's seen this movie, and it's one of the first things he says is, "Well, it's a French film, but he didn't like it. He didn't like the characters, and to top it all off, it was dubbed." He's like, it's just lazy. It's lazy to do that. I watch a French movie. I want to hear them speak French. Like I do wonder if Tarantino did some script doctoring for it, because there's a couple bits in this that are like this is the kind of stuff that Tarantino fit in, like Crimson Tide. You watch Crimson Tide that Tarantino did a script doctor on, and there's a scene that's exactly that kind of scene of like where it just screams out, "This is the one Tarantino wrote."
Oh yeah, well, because these moments are so ingrained in that type of 90s independent cinema, where it's just like, oh, we've got to find something that's like filmic so that we can talk about, and we got to, and and it's the kind of thing that the filmmaker, Clive Fleury, I can imagine him having had this conversation 8 million times with somebody else, and just suddenly it's just like, and now it's just like, oh, great, I got Burt Reynolds and William Forsythe wanting to make this movie with me. This is it. We're going to put all this shit in the movie.
Well, and it's the early days of film schools too. Like it was like this merging of like the people coming out of film schools that were being churned out in the 90s, and the postmodern. Everything is a reference to something else. It isn't just a Tarantino thing. Everyone did this, that everything was a reference back to something else. And you had these like films that talk about other films happening. And I think I like that they're all kind of, there's goofy parts of everyone's story. That frog thing just was awesome.
Well, it's the cherry on top.
Yeah, Georgina Cates we see a couple of her clients, because she's a call girl, and worked with and her clients have very specific.
Oh my God, old McDonald, old fucking
McDonald are
McDonald,
looking for incredibly specific things. So one guy likes to be milked while she sings "Old MacDonald Had a Farm," and so as that scene's going on, she's like, he's on all fours, she is milking him, and she's distracted out the window because she has once again seen her doppelganger across the street and is trying to rush through. So it looks like the most uncomfortable. She's trying to get him to arrive as fast as possible.
Oh God, it's the singing, and then there's her other one where it's just like, go get undressed in that room. Well, I'll just do it right here. No, it's got to be that room. and then like, it's weird because he's looking at her through the wall, but like meanwhile there's a camera that's about 10 feet above where he's actually looking at her, and she's that whole scene.
Sorry, the way I interpreted this entire movie is a little different than you guys. Now, are you saying you thought these scenes were meant to be serious? I mean, the when they hit on the 90s, I almost took them as a parody because they hit those 90s tropes so head on.
No, I mean, it was 3 years after Pulp Fiction. It's 1997.
Okay, well, maybe Jack's right. This is a terrible, terrible movie. But
it's not at all.
Ironically.
It's not some clever thing making fun of this. It's that it's trying to get in on this wave. This Clive Fleury is desperately trying to get on this wave and prove what a genius he is. Now he's largely an author, but including children's.
But we have 3 different storylines, and yeah, absolutely, the Burt Reynolds William Forsythe storyline leans hard into that, because that's where those like talking about other films conversations happen. That's where the this was like a snapshot of where this film takes place in time is that we have cell phones that are like the size of a small brick. But at one point, Burt Reynolds and William Forsythe are arguing about whether the Clint Eastwood spaghetti westerns were dubbed. This leads out of the dubbed movie conversation. And if it's 1997, the only way to settle this argument is they phone into a radio show that is like an Ask an Expert show and ask them. So that is how they solve this debate. That's how they solve this bet.
So what an amazing scene. You know, like where they're on the phone and it's like, shut up. I need to be able, because like one of the guys, because they're listening on the radio while Burt Reynolds is actually on the phone to this call-in show, and it's like, well, that doesn't work, but the fact that they're doing that is just, and they're trying to get this information is so
like
great.
1997's Ask Siri.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and then and of course the answer is just brilliant, because it's just like, well, you know, mostly it is, but not in the case of Eli Wallach and Clint Eastwood. And you know, earlier Burt Reynolds is just being like I know what Clint Eastwood sounds like. I know what.
Tell me, I don't know what Eli Wallach sounds like. Freaking love that. All right, well, I think there's far too much animosity as far as this film goes to keep going too much longer. So let us jump to scoring. In the search for the ultimate B movie,
then we can get to the actually important thing of next season.
That's right. Again, we still got to pitch next season. All right. So in our search for the ultimate B movie, we rate each film in 5 categories, none of which are objective quality. The first category we call schlock appeal, and we start with Stan.
All right. Well, as I kind of alluded to earlier, I found this to be one of the most perfect examples of a Boogaloo movie that I had ever seen. Like, for me, that like I say, that 25-year-old Stan, I know that if I could watch this with a little bit of my Boogaloo mentality and a little bit of my pretentious, film buff mentality and merge them together, this would just be perfect. 10.
Wow.
Nick Boxer.
Nick Boxer, yes, that is correct. Yeah, wow. I'm only going with the 7 on this one. And just because you couldn't, and we didn't know, we picked this movie based on the fact that it had a mustache in it. I don't think anyone knew what we were getting into.
Nope.
It is impossible to tell what you're getting into before, and if it was marketed as what it actually is, I would have seen this years ago. So yeah, only 7.
1. Next.
I actually had a vague idea what I was getting into, because I was the one that selected this film, and I looked up the IMDb user reviews, and one of them that was a 1 out of 10 said, if you liked $1 Million Hotel, you might enjoy watching Burt Reynolds in this movie. And I'm like, not only did that tell me that what I was going to get out of this, it also told me how much they hated $1 Million Hotel, which is a good guide of where I should put their opinion, which is the best. That's the best reviews right there. I love that this is. What would this be on timing for Boogie Nights? Like, is this pre or post Boogie Nights, or about like is it the same year?
I'll look it up.
I didn't actually look it up.
I got it.
So I think it's definitely trying to give Burt Reynolds the John Travolta career comeback.
Oh, absolutely.
Both were 1997.
Both are 1997. So yeah, all right. So he hadn't had his I'm a serious independent film, like low budget film guy moment. This is kind of like this one, or Boogie Nights was going to be his trip back.
That's what to me though. This is what sells it. Like Burt Reynolds is fucking rolling the dice, and it's just like, all right, please. I got 2 films. One of these is going to be my Sundance movie. One of them's going to get me rolling in that indie points on the back end money. It's going to be Big City Blues or Boogie Nights. All right, I'm going to give this an 8. Our next category is called More Heart Than Budget. Oh God. I mean, the budget in this, I mean, I don't know exactly what it was. To me, like, I know that there's so much that people don't like it, but I love the fact that it just seemed like Burt Reynolds wanted this so badly, and they put all this shit in. This one is all the wrong heart for all the right reasons for me. It's 9.
Yeah. Oh man, this is tough putting numbers to this stuff.
That's the show.
Yeah, I know.
We've done 400 episodes of this.
I'm just saying, with this movie in particular,
This is our 75th movie.
judging what was intentional and what wasn't. And yeah, you know what? They wanted to make this film. Everybody involved wanted to make this film. Burt Reynolds, it obviously was going to be a career comeback of some sort. So yeah, I'm going with a 7.
Burt Reynolds was just happy to get some work, dudes. He had seen a lot of shitty films over the last few years. He was taking a lot of shitty films before this. He took shitty films after this.
He produced this.
He produced this. Doesn't matter, man. He
was willing to get into a gimp suit in this one.
He was willing, yeah, and he was also willing to walk around in his underwear and Jello or whatever and striptease, like whatever. More talented. It is rip off of more talented or better movies, trying to just
I don't honestly.
It's almost like
Jack,
you didn't like this movie, John.
Honestly, Jack, I think you missed Georgina Cates' entire storyline. Like nothing, all of your complaints, and I'm not arguing whether like that you should have liked the film. That would be a ridiculous conversation. But I think you've ignored Georgina Cates entirely in complaints about the movie.
Not really. Like it was the same thing.
So if it's entirely derivative, as you just said, what is it derivative of for her storyline?
Well, her storyline is entirely derivative of the fact that you're going out of your way to make, again, it's just the same. It's the same tone. You're going out of your way instead of actually doing good films or good scenes or anything that means anything. You're just trying to put craziness out there for the sake of craziness without any thought put into it, and that's how her scenes came across to me.
All right, so Georgina Cates is the heart of this movie to me. I think I'd have much of the same reaction if if Burt Reynolds and William Forsythe were the main part of this film, then. But really, the screen time is fairly equally spread over the 3 storylines. Again, I was tempted to get the stopwatch and figure out if Burt's in enough of this movie for that modifier. But Georgina Cates is like, it's one of those movies where I started watching it, and you start with Burt Reynolds. Burt Reynolds is like the giant face on the movie poster or the VHS box, and then you get to the end of the film and you realize he's not the main character of the movie. Like she is. She's the main character of this film. It's her story, and it's everyone else is feeding into her storyline. So I think they have used the very commercial part of Burt Reynolds' story to tell Georgina Cates' story. So I'm giving this a 10. What the fuck moments?
Well, I mean, for me, starting out. So we have the black and white French movie, and then the way that plays out. We have the frogs. We have the fact that they're arguing dubbing, and then the fact that they're calling on the the radio call-in show. The old McDonald milking was just bar none, so out of there. The fact that they're at the apartment at the very end of the movie. And like the Giancarlo and Ari Gross are going under the bed, and there's 2 fucking dogs that are just under the bed, and they think they're suitcases. Like, I'm just like, what the hell?
A couple of suitcases under here.
and I mean, to me, like there's just so many little things. Like when they're burying the body in this thing, they're burying the fucking body. that they've killed Burt and William Forsythe, and then William Forsythe is like, I was thinking of buying this property. I'm hearing strange noises from the neighbor's place. So he goes and he looks into the neighbor's place, and meanwhile there's a fucking satanic ritual going on in the neighbor's place. But the satanic ritual, the fat guy running it, and his mother comes down and she's like, "Are you ready yet?" And oh my God, I mean, all these moments, which absolutely, and I get it, Jack, because you're like, all these moments are jammed in, and I'm like, to me, these moments aren't jammed in, and it makes it perfect for it. 10.
Sorry, this is WTF, right?
Yep.
WTF.
Yeah. Okay, I got a WTF here. That I only had time for one fantastic viewing of this film. And I was lost on it, what I assume is a WTF, but maybe you can explain this. The ending. When the Rastafarian with the teeth burst into the apartment. Had we seen him anywhere before?
Yes, he was in the first time you saw the drug dealer, that when Georgina Cates' character showed up at her place.
Yeah, you see him really briefly though, like because she like Georgina Cates and the drug dealer are talking, and then the drug dealer gets a call that the cops are going to raid her apartment. So she has to run out, and she like yells, "Joey, come with me!" And he walks through the scene. Yes. So it's not like he gets heavily established. He just
but it's pretty obvious he's her hairbase.
Oh, and I love that scene too. With what, like a menu for drugs, and it's just like, what do I want? I forget what I want to say, like the Croatian or something like that, but it's like the Bolivian or whatever. Just
okay, but why didn't she not have keys to her own apartment that they have to break down the door?
Who? What?
Well, when they come running in and everything they have the Mexican scan.
Well, I think they were just surprising them, weren't they?
Yeah. Oh, okay. I did not understand that whatsoever. I just all of a sudden blinked and there was a Rastafarian staring off against Burt Reynolds, or William Forsythe rather. It was a little weird. Yeah, no, there's tons of crazy in here. I'm only going to go as high as an 8 though.
Mainly phony boogaloo and forced WTFs 4.
You missed in the milking prostitution scene that when she pulls down his pants, he's got on boxers that have a cow modeled like a moo cow.
Oh yes,
print on them.
Yes,
I freaking love that.
Oh my God!
And why did she take off her panties for that scene?
Maybe he just likes that part. I mean, you do what the client asks. Yep. That's yeah, that's whatever the client asks for. That's what you that's what you do. I like Ari Gross's weird dream sequence story where he's like he's telling what they're telling what happened to him in a dream. Again, it's supposed to be a parable telling you something that's never entirely made clear.
To help him make that decision about getting the surgery. Oh God. There's just so much. There's so much to that story.
And when Burt Reynolds ends up in the bondage, it's a weird bondage outfit, but it's like they're Satanists who are going to sacrifice him. So they kill a rooster above his head, and then the lights go out, and when the lights come back on, he's just got blood all over his face. All right, I'm giving this a 9. I loved it. All right, memorable moments. You don't have to do too much if you're just going to go with the 10 step.
Celestial roulette. 10.
Celestial roulette. I wrote that one down.
Love that. Love it so much.
Is it a 10 for that step?
Yeah. Yep.
All right, Nick.
9. I'm hoping it'll stay that high, but it could just get blended in with the rest of the Tarantino knockoffs from the era. I'm hoping it stays a 9, because I really did have a great time with this movie.
I will remember nothing except for Reynolds' incredible muffin duster that he and I've obviously seen that before. So, I mean, that will keep it from getting a 0 though. So I'll go over 1.
You'd already forgotten Georgina Cates' whole story. So there's one line that I know it's gonna rattle through my head for a long time. Is when they find the guys that are squatting, and it's because it's their boss's house that they're checking on, the mansion that they go in, and then they kill the 2 guys that are squatting in there. But he's got them tied up, and he starts talking about the blues, and he says, to appreciate the blues, you have to have lived a while. You might not ever appreciate the blues. I freaking love that line. All right, 8 for me. Our final category is called Crazy Concept.
I mean, it's not crazy in that you wanted to make this movie. It's crazy that the way that you decided to make this movie. So I'm not going to go perfect. I'm going to go with a 9.
Wow. I don't get your logic whatsoever. Using my own, this rate's a 5. It's not that crazy. It's of era, but we did have some frogs and stuff in there that if they made the pitch, this wouldn't have got made.
Yeah, if you didn't have Burt Reynolds backing this.
It's not crazy. It's just mimicking a style, and it's not as crazy as the movies. It's not as crazy as Pulp Fiction or True Romance of these movies are. Those are crazier movies. So 2.
I'm lighter here on the concept because I think that, as I said, I think that a lot of this movie is adding commercial elements so that you can tell the stories that you actually wanted to tell. The story with Ari and Giancarlo would have been a black and white Sundance-y movie. The Georgina Cates story, there's a $10,000 Sundance kind of movie. So it's got this really commercial package around the outside so that you can tell the other stories that you wouldn't have been able to get on the shelf. So I'm giving it a 5 for that. That wraps up the scoring. Every season we have 6 secret modifiers. This one does get a -1 because the mustache dies. Mm-hmm.
Oh.
I wonder who scored it the highest, who scored it the lowest.
I'm gonna let the listeners figure that out for themselves.
all I can say is that I want to go watch this movie again.
I never want to watch this movie again.
No kidding. So, all told, everything wrapped up in a package gives us a grand total of 65.5 out of 100, which is that exactly the same score as we got? Like almost. puts it 65.5. Puts it right around, right between Up the Creek and Break Into Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah, if Jack had actually liked this one may have been a contender.
It could have been a contender for me. I'll admit. Maybe we should just throw out the bottom and the top and go with the medium. It's funny. I was just realizing this as we're talking about it that I don't think we have the different categories, but we can't. Unfortunately, in the Octagon, you can't sort it by host. So because that would actually have been interesting to see. I mean, this would easily be, I'm sure, the lowest movie I've scored.
Oh, I would imagine it's probably the lowest movie that any single host has scored, period.
Possibly, yeah.
Because you had nothing. Like,
in my own head doing some math.
I'll take
like
a look
8?
while we're moving on. So, Stan, why don't you wrap it up, and then we'll get into we'll start pitching.
Well, of course, let's see now. Next up, we are going to the Isle of the Snake People as we move on with our free mustache rides. So that should be very exciting. And who's the star of Isle of the Snake People? Nick, was this one your choice, or was it...
this was mine.
Or yours, Jim? Do you remember who the star was?
Boris Karloff.
Boris Karloff is our mustache du jour in that case. And Jim, you got to tell the folks where they can find us before we get on to choosing season 8 of the Kung Fu Electric Boogaloo.
Absolutely. We are on Instagram at Kung Fu Electric Boogaloo. Also use that hashtag. Also, you can watch all of the films that we're doing this season on Tubi TV, which has they have a website, they have iOS app, and they have an Android app. So you definitely, and it's a free app. It's commercial based, so rather than subscription based. And our podcast sponsors, We Talk Podcasts, have a website called wetalkpodcasts.com where you can check out the Octagon and you can take a look at their newly refurbished site. It's quite user friendly. Looks really pretty right now. And they have a Facebook and a Twitter as well. Keep you up to date on everything we're doing. All
right. Well, the most important thing is that you can watch Big City Blues, because I would love to know if other people like Big City Blues. I'm not expecting them to like it as much as I did, but just whether they liked it or not.
Well, it does have a 3.6 on IMDb, but those aren't Boogaloo watchers. Boogaloo watchers will see different things in movies. So
that's for sure. All right. Speaking of different things in movies, let's talk about a different season. So, Jim, are you going to do that random thing again, a random generator to let us know who's
that does choice? Seem like the best way.
It kind of does. Yeah.
So, all right, where's my... All right, maximum 4.
Maximum 4, good.
Pick a number 2, 1 and 4.
1 down and 2 to go. Yeah.
1 down and 2 to go. That's the way we solve every 1 to 4 option from now on. All right, I'm ready to hit generate here. It is 2, so Nick goes first.
Oh,
well,
God.
All right.
Okay.
I wanted to go last.
We all wanted you to go last to give us a shot. Our only hope is whoever gets 4th, it'll be so far removed from yours that we will have forgotten and have a shot.
So I guess I should just blurt it out and tell you, and you guys can give up and bit Harry Carey. That's how this goes?
Well, just make your pitch. Do your pitch, man.
All right.
Unless you
my
don't have
concept is Kung Fu Electric Boogaloo serves up sloppy seconds now with Tubi. Now, in this season, we'd each be allowed to go back to a previous season's theme and pick 2 movies from that theme, and that's what will make up the season. Now, the obvious rule that I know Jack would probably suggest is each one of us is only allowed to pick 1 theme once, but how I do it is, because I'd be interested in knowing, if all of us want to do 1 theme, that's what we do.
Oh.
All right.
I don't understand that last part. If all of us want to do 1 theme, that's what we do.
If all of us want to do, say, the first season, which was White Dragon...
if we all want to do the sex comedy season, if we all wanted to do the astronaut...
We could all do that.
Astronauts, okay.
Oh, so it's just... there's no limitations, basically, you're saying?
No limitations, no.
Yeah, okay. I actually think we got a shot, guys.
Mm-hmm.
That was not...
That sauce
I
was
thought
not
the
what
title alone, I thought Sloppy Seconds would...
Sloppy Seconds is a pretty good title.
Yeah, but
title.
I have really no interest in doing that. So
I think that's an idea for me that I'm like, I think when we get a few more seasons in, but I just think it's too early to do that. It's not removed. Not far enough removed from
let's get all the ideas, and then we can I have generated another one, and now I'm up next. So my pitch, again with Tubi, my pitch is the Kung Fu Lightning Hoedown. I want to do films that are shameless ripoffs and asylum style bandwagoning of much more successful films. So Asylum, Sci-Fi, there's a ridiculous amount of these on Tubi.
Oh my God, is there ever? Jesus. And the thing is, it's not even like the Sharktopus NATO, that kind of thing. It's also like sex comedies, like American Pie ripoffs and stuff like that. There is no shortage of Asylum craziness.
Yeah, so
I have to watch Snakes on a Train then, and I've been avoiding that till now.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody's going to pick that movie.
I have already found about 10 movies that it wasn't one of the ones that I found that I want to do.
I've been for years doing the exact same thing now for a couple of years, just going every time I see Atlantic Rim going, I want to and I don't. I want to and I don't.
I think the Grim Avengers looks pretty cool.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, and that leads into that Suicide Sinister
Sinister
whatever.
Squad,
Yeah,
that's right.
Sinister
Yep.
Squad. Awesome.
So yes, I called it the Kung Fu Lightning Hoedown because on a VHS shelf you might grab that when you were thinking you're getting our podcast.
All right, who's next?
Next up is Jack.
All right. Well, I'm going to take us to it's not the most high level concept at all. It's taking us to what I believe the core of the show is, and what I believe is the core of what listeners of a show like this want to hear about in a season I call Gore, Gore, Gore. That's right. Let's find the 8 goriest movies we can and look at them. Any genre, anything. But let's just try and find over-the-top gore and watch some of those crazy movies.
Oh, tempting. I wasn't sure that there were 8 good Al Gore movies. So he went a different direction than I thought.
That's
Concept.
it's a shame, but it's close enough. We'll get by.
Interesting concept. It has been a while since we haven't hit a whole lot of horror so far in the show.
Nope.
And you can do horror, but you can also mix in some other stuff in there. Gore can be in all sorts of things. But yeah, there's some interesting. And there's definitely some on Tubi.
there may be some on Tubi, that's for sure. All right, well that leaves one pitch
person left. All right, my pitch is simply the BS. These are, we talk about filmmakers that are the auteurs. We talk about the Stanley Kubricks, and we've talked about Quentin Tarantino. That they imbue that quality into their movies. Well, there's also the auteurs of the B movie side. You got your Larry Cohens. We talked about Andy Sidaris. You've got Edward D. Wood Jr. Well, I'm thinking. And it doesn't necessarily have to be their best movie, but it could be like whether the most memorable movie from them or your favorite movie from them or just even, a movie from Larry Cohen or something like that that is considered the cream of the crop. So I want to see
B movie directors. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and the guys that made their living in the B movie genre. So I think you got to have made at least 5 B movies. But we're talking like Charles Band, guys like that have made, tons of these movies. And who knows, maybe this is the time that we could actually see what a Plan 9 from Outer Space is going to generate on the Boogaloo scale. But I would love to see some of these directors finally getting loaded into the octagon.
Oh, loaded into the octagon. I like that. That's a good word picture that you made there. I like that. All right, I don't know where we go from here.
Well, basically we're not picking our own. So if it's up to me, I can just say in order. I would Sands is the most appealing to me because I love the idea of getting to some of these legends and giving them their due. So that's for me. And of the other two, I'm probably even on them. Some of the Asylum, I fear that we would have 4 that would score well and 4 that would be just so bad they wouldn't score well. The Asylum scares me from that perspective.
True. Not limited to just Asylum, though.
No, but I know
there's plenty of sci-fi stuff on there.
Yeah.
There's plenty of stuff in the fantasy sci-fi realm that's Actually, and there's stuff outside of the sci-fi realm that I mean, I already know what one of the movies is guaranteed to be for me.
that is it. It's just that sometimes you get these rip-offs of these asylum or those styles, whatever. They're not always. Some of them are Boogaloo, and some of them are just poor versions of the other movie and wouldn't score as well. And I'd be afraid to get stuck with some of those. So another one, like I said, is kind of a little too close. So for me, it's definitely the BS is my pick.
Oh. See, I'm having a little trouble here because I like Stan's idea, but Jim's title is fantastic.
I thought it was a good title. Thank you. I appreciate that.
But yeah, I'm going with Stan too. I think that would make the best season.
Well, I mean, I like the, since I can't vote for my own, obviously, then I like the gore, because I like gore. There's nothing wrong with that. And afterwards, then yes, the lightning hoedown sounds good. I do tend to agree with Jack that I love the idea of going back to old seasons, but I love the idea in about another year.
I just thought there were enough leftovers already.
There is, but it's just I'm too close to having seen those movies, and I remember at the end of the sex comedy season thinking, fuck, I love sex comedies, but I'm really done watching sex comedies right now.
All right, well, I think I'll have to settle here. I like gore, but I think I have the same concern that the coin flip on quality is a rough one.
Yes.
I think even more so on gory films. I think I'd have to investigate so deep into the films before I watch them, which I'm not keen on. So I think the stands have it.
Woohoo!
We got a new champion.
All right, I brought sauce. Yeah.
I think I've picked my movies already.
I'll admit, like there's so many guys, because I was watching Vice Academy, and that was actually what did it for me. Because as I was watching them, and they're shitty movies, which I wouldn't want to watch again. But the point is,
I would like a list of which directors are eligible for the season.
Well, maybe we can find a list of maybe someone's done a the top 20 B movie directors or something.
Yeah,
see if we can find kind of a representative list.
Otherwise, we would a top 20 or 10 or whatever, because otherwise, probably 20 is we need enough probably, but otherwise, I think we'd have too many either too many of the same or too many people, or where we're not sure if they're actually. One of us might think they're, and somebody else might not.
Well, it's interesting because, see, and this is where I got it from Rick Sloan, who made the Vice Academy movies. And, the only reason that I think, because he's only made, I think, one other movie besides the 6 Vice Academy movies. And so it was kind of like, if I was going to think about the best, because there's no question he's in that B movie category, but he's only about the one type of movie. So... But he led me to that, and so I don't think Rick Sloan would be eligible, but it's an interesting argument for sure.
Well, and I think we might want to consider, I think we should wrap this up, but I think we might want to consider something like, with the mustaches, do we want to limit the number of films we have from a specific director?
And I think so, maybe one from each.
Yeah. Because
I wouldn't want to have two Ed Wood movies.
I'm just thinking there's so many Corman movies on.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. For sure.
And now that I've said that, we're going to end up people are going to overcompensate, and we'll have 0 Corman films.
But Corman didn't direct a lot.
This is true.
Yeah. It's and a very good point. Yeah. But and again, this is an interesting, because I know that we've watched that the Filipino documentary. Would you consider some of those directors like Auteur, because they've made more than enough movies to fit into this list? And
I don't consider anybody in this list an Auteur.
Well, they're the flip side of the Auteur coin in my mind. Anyways, it's gonna be awesome.
Sounds great.
All right. We have made our decision. And it's excellent, and it's even better because it's not Nick. Now Nick gets to stew in his own juices for another season.
I still got another 8 months on. Oh no, I don't have that. That's some other guy who has that. Never mind.
What the hell is he talking about here, guys?
I don't know. We have obviously lost the plot. So I think we better wrap this sucker up. So join us for next episode where we're going to talk Isle of the Snake People and for more mustache rides, mustache goodness. So for Jim, for Jack, and for Nick, I am your host, 8th Dan Stanadu. Thanks for listening to the Kung Fu Electric Boogaloo.
Two hitmen, a hooker, and two transvestites come together in a bizarre night of murder and mayhem. Starring Burt Reynolds, William Forsythe, Georgina Cates, Baltazar Getty, Giancarlo Esposito, and Ari Gross.
Garçon.
It's Friday night in Miami.
Let's see what you got under all this shit.
Things are not going well.
Oh, you...
And they will get worse. If they had made one decision different, just one, they never would have met.
Count your lucky stars.